Tell me what you do.
Uh, I'm JGOD online. My name is James. I make Call of Duty content primarily. I use Twitter quite a bit, but my main thing is I like to do informative content, news, that type of thing. And I had my big blow up in Warzone, even though I covered multiplayer for 3 or 4 years before that. But it's kind of one of those things that so I get known for Warzone, even though I've made more multiplayer videos than Battle Royale at this
Mm.
point.
When you started your YouTube channel, it's with IW, and I'm pretty sure from what I've heard in other pods and stuff, that's like actually when you started content creating was during Infinite Warfare. Why that year? Why specifically that year did you start doing content?
That just happened to be the game that was out. It could have been basically any COD because I played basically every COD. So it's like one of those things. It was just the timing. Prior to that, I wasn't even a YouTube user or enjoyer or anything like that. Earlier in that year, I started playing the Division, and I got really into that. And one of the guys I played with, he was like, "Oh, you should check out this guy's videos." And I'd never really used the platform, so it wasn't one of those things. At the time, the creator was Skill Up. He does like game reviews now, and they're pretty good. And he's got his own niche, and he's blown up more off of that. But he was doing Destiny or Division content, and he was doing like stat breakdowns. These are the weapons. Here's the firing range and all these types of things. And I was like, all right, cool, good knowledge. Eventually, once that game kind of burned out, they didn't really support it. I was like, you know what? I should get back into playing some COD, and I should go for a nuke. I'd never really gone for a nuke. I should go for one. I feel like I'm capable. I looked up some videos now that I had that as like a tool. And then I found Exclusive Ace's video, and he did like how to get a nuke. And then you go down the YouTube rabbit hole. And then once, like after about a week, then I could regularly drop a nuke. And it was just that simple. Just 1 week of learning information. It was like a huge shift because there's all these little things that you just don't know unless you know. Probably around July of that year, I go, you know what? I can do this. Like, I can make videos and I'll just do them my own way. So that's kind of what I did. In August of 2017, I just said, I'm going to start making videos on this date. And I started making videos. But as with the new COD or a new COD, you can make fresh videos. An old COD is not so similar, that you can do that. So what ended up happening is I made some videos on that, and then Destiny 2 was coming out, and I was like, all right, cool. Well, with the new game, let me see what I can make content on. So I actually still have those videos on my channel. And then it was kind of like a gap to fill until I knew World War II would come out, and that was still going to be the primary content. It was just I need to make content on something new and see how it does. And then I learned a lot about editing and titling, and that was like my crash course was during Destiny 2, which I enjoyed quite a bit and played like hundreds of hours in those first 2 months or something like that. But and then I went into World War II, and that's kind of multiplayer content from there.
When I was researching as much as I could, because I've known you for years. I've seen you in the space for a good number of years now, especially from Warzone. Sorry, you know,
But
I
that's a lot of people. So
I know. I don't want to be one of the other ones that going, "Oh, I've known you from Warzone," but I do, and I have to be honest with you.
yeah,
But your name in the community is synonymous. So I was looking on Twitter just to kind of see random questions that you probably haven't been asked before.
yeah,
But I stumbled across a specific tweet. You stated in 2024, MW 2019 was the worst COD to cover multiplayer content for specifically. I want to
yes.
ask you why. I really fucking loved MW 2019. Like that was the first COD that brought me like back into it. I played
And that's
BO2.
a lot of people for sure.
I know. I played like BO2 back in the day, MW3. They were like my real big CODs. I loved Advanced Warfare, loved Infinite Warfare. So I kind of dropped off a little bit. But when MW 2019 came about, for some reason, I was like hooked. And that was long before Warzone was even like rumored, right? Then
Yeah,
Warzone came out. Jesus, that brought a whole new beast out of degeneracy that I never knew I had from when I was a
yeah,
kid.
100%.
Why is it hell on your side? Why on the content side of things was it like the worst COD to make content for?
Well, in terms of content, I think the content was relatively easy to make content for because you could post anything and there was a large player base coming back to COD. The problem I felt was there's so many different issues with the game that they took it like a completely wrong direction with the field upgrade stuff, the tactical sprint, which was basically overhauled and put into every COD after that, the change to the SBMM, the lack of map voting. Like there's tons of things with that. There was inconsistencies with TTK that created issues as well. It's almost like every gun had high caliber, which high caliber was supposed to be a trade-off with the pick 10 where you want to choose to kill someone slightly faster and aim for the head, then there's a trade-off. This one gave you everything. There's way too many attachments, which I think worked in the benefit when it came to Warzone and content because people were like, what the hell is the best thing? And it became like ultra min-maxy in the sense of that. Um, but I think a lot of it came down to the matchmaking part of it because it felt like unnatural. Like I could play and I could play for hours and then I could watch somebody else play and I go, okay, that experience doesn't mirror my experience. And that was the first COD where that was the case. Every COD before that, it's basically if you're not good, it's a skill issue, right? And then when you get into the other one, it's like, okay, these people aren't even shooting back at these dudes. And then I think it put like a dark cloud over content creation for a while that still even hovers with the two boxing and cheating and all this other stuff that happened as a result of it, all generated from there. Although it looked great, it sounded good, the campaign was great, you know, that a lot of the other things, squad spawns. I mean, you can go on for a lot of that just impacted the game negatively. And a lot of those decisions carried over to the next games. We saw a lot of the same things in Vanguard. MW2, I don't know what they were thinking. It looks like they've completely flipped the switch to go in a positive direction with MW4. MW3 was pretty solid. I like BO6, but I still prefer BO7 over BO6. But it seems like whatever the issues that were added in 2019, most of those are kind of gone.
I mean, like I say that I enjoyed MW 2019 a lot. It's not in my top 10 by any means. I just remember that was the one that kind of hook and line me in a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Not because of a skill thing or like SPNM started to become really rampant then. It wasn't so much that. It was just, I think for the time where I was in life, that was the next COD that really like kind of was just coming through. So I was at the train station, the train just pulled up. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
you know, um, I cannot sit here and deny that that is where it really started. The bullshit, the decline, the things that people are despising with COD now. I can't deny that that was where it really started. So I need to put my hand up, and that's not. I'm not part of the problem. I promise. I'm not hooked and line because of SBMM. I hate it. I'm a decent enough player, decent enough where I feel the effect of SBMM to my disadvantage. So I promise. I don't really know how to ask this next question because I have a lot of friends that are creators who have been, been flown out to Activision to play the games
Yep.
early. I've had people who have just been in creator calls, and I know that you just had a creator call for MW4. What's your take on that? Because you've been flown out before, you've had creator calls, you've had back and forth, but you're not um, dishonest. You're open, and there's open
Yeah.
communication with you. How do you feel about creators being sent early, specifically for events that you can't even show the product for?
I think it's not as good as it could be. I think what we had back in 2019 before our first ever COD Next, we actually got invited out. There was like 250 creators that COD was trying to go a big swing with 2019. They had this massive budget. They had everyone from Fortnite to what Roblox. Well, I don't think Roblox was there, but Minecraft, whoever was a content creator, they were flown out to that thing. There was a lot of people there that were not COD people, and there was kind of like a big capture session where everyone was allowed to capture gameplay. And we got the all the recording, and then we had like a week embargo where we can formulate videos with our raw gameplay. And that kind of took the place. Next ended up kind of replacing that. That was my first, time getting invited to an event like that. Prior to that, they had some COD XP or these other things that showcase the game early. And I think there's been early play sessions where people were able to record, and then you get an embargo, and then you do it. And it seems like that's a much more like symbiotic relationship between Activision and creators. I feel like the way it's done now, it's kind of like it does a disservice to creators in a lot of ways. I know that sounds weird to say offhand that you're getting the exclusives, but I'll kind of explain that a little bit further. But there's like the problem where the creator sacrificing some people, if they're coming from the UK or Australia or whatever, they're sacrificing multiple days of potential content and things like that, and being away from their setup. And COD almost always, when these people are at these events, and myself included, they're always dropping something that like basically kind of makes it a negative for the people being there in a certain way. Obviously, the social aspect and being able to brainstorm and talk to other creators, and then you form connections. Maybe they follow you there, and then you follow them back, and then that leads to other, connections, which is good. I think, for example, this most recently they did we did the people had the early access. There's 70 creators there, all got a presentation. They got hands on for a couple hours, and their only really tools was they had to hand take notes or they had audio recording. Right. Then a week later, we get a video call, and our video call is basically them playing a video of that presentation. But with that, I can take some screenshots and then take notes for note taking purposes. So I can get super detailed notes. The audio I can listen back with high fidelity recording on my setup, and I can take meticulous notes and have better notes than people that went there, but I don't get the hands on. Then we all have the same embargo date, and it comes out at 8 p.m. or 8 a.m. Pacific time. And unbeknownst to us, the creators, they drop a blog at the exact same time, which includes all that information, anyways. So for me, it's like, well, what was the exclusivity that I had? Like that I saw like 5 screenshots that of the backpack or the MIA system in DMZ, or maybe I saw the gunsmith early. Like, what was actually beneficial about that? That I had exclusivity, or the people that played early had exclusivity, because you would have been just as good at just reading through the blog as me, because it even included stuff that wasn't in the presentation. So now I'm like, okay, well, now I have to look for the needle in the haystack for the information that I didn't get. And then, so I think there are some conflicts there, that even if that blog came out when the COD pod came out the next day, all the creators would have been like, the news on the first day, the Saturday that they actually moved the embargo up. We were actually supposed to have like everything come out at the same time, which was the trailer, the COD pod, the blog, and our videos. And it's like, well, that's a downside there. I know that there's some legal sides to Activision why they like generally don't want to do that stuff. Because things can change and blah, whatever it is. But in general, I think there's like a balance there that could work. But the problem is, like, that scenario, it didn't benefit almost any of the creators that got to go early in that sense. So yeah.
I understand if you're allowed to record, and if you're allowed to record gameplay and have a couple of days of embargo to gather your thoughts, get your honest feedback, because every creator is different with what they're looking for in a game. So that's why you want
Yep.
a good diverse range of folk coming in early, playing the game hands on, stress testing it just a wee bit from a different perspective, and just getting somebody else's take, and also you're getting content. So it's like a win-win, right? If you
Yeah.
remove that ability to record, that ability to use for content, what are you? Especially when they're dropping their blog and the COD pod basically on the same day, not giving the spotlight to creators. What's the point? Like, what actually is
Yeah.
the point? And then, me as I'd say a consumer of a lot of people's content, also not having any content to divulge via you or via T Dog or anybody else that
Yeah.
was there. I just felt it was a weird year, especially. I've always had this weird feeling about it. Not jealousy, not anything like that. I don't care enough to feel jealous about
Yeah.
people seeing it early. I'll get it when I
Yeah.
get it. But there is a weird feeling about it, and I couldn't know exactly what it is. And then this year, with the way it happened time wise, it just felt very weird. I can't explain it. It just didn't feel like it was timed right in the slightest, especially with not being able to record your gameplay.
Well, it was early this time. And what also they did different this time around, than they did in previous times is every time we ever got to play this early, we also couldn't record or anything like that other than the 2019 one that, like I said, substituted like COD Next. Besides that, we never really been able to record early. They don't even give us B-roll, which that would be so like helpful for making a video just with some B-roll instead of their trailers, like 3 seconds here, 3 seconds there. It's like, whoo, yeah. But I think in previous years, basically we were allowed to play. And then when we talked about the features, we basically kind of had to do a analytical POV where we basically said they have perks, they have guns, but talk about that. And we couldn't give our opinions on what we thought of the game. Even if we liked it, like we couldn't say, you know what, it felt great. But this year, they actually did allow the creators that actually got the hands-on to say yes. If they liked, what they didn't like, they didn't like. So that's like one step in that direction where they're able to do it. And I think next year, I think they'll move towards that part of the creator part of it. I think it's just like little by little, it's got to work towards that. Unfortunately, I don't know why on the back end, but I think it's a combination of the studios got to be comfortable with it, of like their state of the game. And I think last year would have been a good example because BO7 came out finished. They had the multiple years to work on it, like the normal. And MW4's had the 4 years to work on it. And nothing about what I've seen or what I ended up playing this weekend when I got to go to the Xbox thing um, is basically it's basically there, right? Like the game we're gonna get is gonna be there. Like some assets are like placeholder, like voice comms. It's just like not a voice actor, it's just a generic voice. But it's like those types of things where when it comes out, it's gonna be about as close to what it is what it's gonna be, right?
Again, a very, very good time to have you sitting down for the show because MW4 is fast approaching. I'm actually really excited for it. Like I genuinely, everything I've been seeing, I'm quite excited. When DMZ initially came out for MW 2022, I believe the first like, beta
Yep.
version of it, I had a PC that kept crashing, and I mean every like 5-10 minutes, I
And
kept
that's
crashing
terrible.
and crashing so I wasn't able to experience it to its full potential. Bitter taste in my mouth thinking about DMZ, and that's only a me problem because of the PC I had before. Now, fingers crossed, it's had some issues recently again, but fingers crossed I can actually experience DMZ, really enjoy it to its full potential. I'm excited to see what we've seen recently about the actual, what I feel is a more fleshed out version of DMZ. I think it's the
Oh
official
yeah.
version now. So there's a lot I'm excited for, and obviously the multiplayer camo, whatever camo, there's probably going to be a DMZ
Yeah.
camo. I'm a massive
Yeah.
guy. That's the thing I'm most looking forward to is the grind. I got Nexus horribly quickly for the camo for BO7. I regret
Oh
it
yeah.
because it was dire. It's a really shit camo. Um, I'm, I'm,
It
I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it straight
is
up.
a long grind though
The
for all
amount
of
of
them. Yeah.
time, the amount of time I spent getting Nexus Horizon for it to not even look like it's fully loaded in is
Yeah.
dire. Is dire.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm always a mastery guy. I always like going for the camo ASAP. That's what I'm most excited for. What are you most excited for Modern Warfare 4?
It's going to be the content side of it, the way they're going to be able to support it. That's been the big Achilles heel of IW or Infinity Ward is that they haven't really proven that they can deliver on that aspect. And this is something we've seen with multiple devs that have been from the other studios. I think they will get it this time. So I'm more optimistic than I would be because it's kind of like that domino effect is when 2019 happened, COD switched from the DLC life cycle to the live service, which is completely different model and the expectations are completely different. They all had to jump on the battle pass and all these other things like Fortnite. And that's what the consumers, it's part of the consumer ecosystem that what people expect from the game. But the amount of content you have to pump out for that is significantly different than a DLC where you go, okay, we're going to have 4 DLC drops. We just need these 3 or 4 maps, and then we're going to drop a zombies map or whatever. And that's 4 maps a year, and boom, done. Woo. And 1 or 2 weapons each time. That's it. Now they got like 14 weapons, or 25 weapons that they add a year versus 3 or something like that. So the demands are much higher. And I think Treyarch struggled with that with Cold War, and then Vanguard struggled with it. MW2 struggled with it, and then finally, when we got to MW3, it actually felt like the studio understood the live service aspect of the game. And then when we come over to Black Ops 6 and 7, it felt like that as well. Like they've gotten like a good grasp of how to do the live service part of it, especially with BO7. It feels like sometimes there's too much content in a way where it's like, oh, damn, okay, you added 3 weapons today. Each one, if I want to prestige it for a prestige attachment. And then we got this new rogue mode for zombies. And then we add this Fortune's Keep and ranked for the other. Like, there's they got a good grasp of it. We're in season 4, right? Like they're still pumping. And I think IW's had enough time where they're going to go ahead and go, yeah, we got this, and we're going to have a good year. And we know the expectation, and we've set ourselves up properly instead of being like, okay, what do we do now that we're season 4 is all our content and that's it. So I think that's been a problem, and that's the biggest concern that I'm like looking forward to them solving. Because they solve that, then it's a great year.
I mentioned DMZ as well. There's been a lot of talk recently on PvP, PvE, VP.
Yeah,
I saw your video on it, but I want to get your take for the show. How are you feeling currently with the discourse? Do you think it's warranted? Do you think it's not?
I think it's definitely warranted. I feel like a lot of people are looking at it selfishly. Like PvE is not even a mode I'd play, so I'm looking at more selflessly, I guess, as you can. I've seen a lot of things generally come down to either they feel like they're uninformed takes, or maybe they're just bad faith takes, because it's a lot of PvP players that maybe don't even understand what a PvE mode would mean for the game, or they think it's going to fracture the player base, or they feel like people will get loot and then come over to PvP. But a lot of the issues that they would like basically bring up or see as problems, they don't happen when PvE is done well. So what that would mean for me in a succinct way is that it's completely split economy. So there's no carryover. Like if you get a more power in one, it has zero impact on the other, which is fine. There would be no other players on the map when you're playing PvE. If you load in a trio, it's only you 3 players. And to take the place of other players on the map, it would be AI, but they'd be similar behavior as players, so you still get that fill. That's kind of what Tarkov does with their system, where you can load in and other players are literally AI, but then there's AI bots that are like the grunts, the lieutenants, the commanders. So the ecosystem still feels like it, because I saw a lot of people go, oh, if it was a PvE lobby, then everyone was just going around saying friendly, friendly, hey, what's up, bro? Yeah, we got this, you know? But no, that doesn't work that way because there's no other real people on the map. Like this is an onboarding process to get somebody comfortable with the game. Maybe they play at a slower pace. And I think if you can have a PvE game, I'm not saying it should be a PvE game, but if you can actually have it run successfully as a PvE game, then you got a really good grounded foundational game. If it's not good enough without the PvP, I don't think the game's good enough. Like that's kind of the honest part of it. And games will hang around and stick around for PvP, but they're just there for the PvP. That's what we're seeing with the original DMZ beta. The content lacked significantly. They did add stuff. The depth is weak. But everyone, the only thing they're doing on the game now is because it hasn't been supported is PvP. That's all that's left. And of course, if that game had PvE, maybe new players would be getting onboarded and joining the normal PvPvE. So I don't know. I think it's kind of weird to think that like less players would be a good thing, because there's people that are genuinely opposed to any PvP and they basically will not touch the mode, like zero. So like, why not have them part of the ecosystem, right? Like, I don't know. That's my thoughts on it.
I think as well, another question is, obviously with Call of Duty, there's the potential for hackers and, the ricochet not working as intended. Uh, do you think it's a service or a disservice to DMZ, it being behind the $70 tile rather than it being more like of a free to play kind of thing? What do you think will work better for DMZ in the long run?
So I think it's kind of weird because obviously a paid aspect should theoretically limit cheaters. Uh, but I think COD has to figure out how they can minimize the cheater problem. with that, because a lot of that isn't people buying the game, it's sharing the game that they cheat on, I believe. Like if you bought Steam, then your family members, if you have a family account, I believe they could play Steam. And this is kind of a workaround that I think it was screwing over Arc Raiders because people would buy the $40 game, then they'd have 10 family members that are all cheating accounts, and then essentially they could cheat. If they get banned, then they load up for free again. So I think they have to counter out that back end, because I think on Steam you're able to make it so that games aren't shareable with family, so they would require a purchase. And I don't think COD has that locked in that way. I may be wrong in that part. So I think there's an aspect of that charging you think solves it, but there's workarounds for things. If people want to do things bad, they're going to find ways to do things bad. They got to do a better job at limiting like front facing things like that. I think cheaters are more common going to be found in ranked play. I don't. I play regular pubs. I don't run into them. I generally can't remember the last time I've ran into them for both multiplayer and Warzone. I just don't run into them. But if I go watch a streamer that's probably getting stream sniped and playing ranked, they run into them regularly. So I don't think that's like a fix all. It's just a cost. I think it's going to be weird because it's an expensive extraction shooter. Like if somebody only wants that, that's like almost double Arc Raiders. So I think that could be prohibitive for some people. Um, but it really just comes down to, does the game deliver? Right? It doesn't matter what the game costs. At the end of the day, if the game's good, people are going to get FOMO and buy it. Like that's the reality.
Mhm.
Like it's like with GTA, if they're going to charge 100, everyone's like, I can't miss out. I'm going to pay the $100 or whatever the hell it's going to cost. There's a certain amount of FOMO that the game has to be good and deliver. If it doesn't do that, then it's not good enough, right? Like that's the real problem.
I mean, with all that being said, we have campaign, multiplayer, and DMZ. That's our core three for MW4. We've
Yep.
talked about what we're excited for. You're excited for the hopeful potential for things to have changed. I'm excited for the Master Camo. That's my thing. That's my bread and butter. What are you most kind of worried about?
I like in terms of I had some more concerns before I got a chance to play a couple matches at that Xbox showcase. I was a little bit more concerned, but once I got my hands on it, it definitely felt like MW3, but like enhanced, like an enhanced MW3, like improved. And I really enjoyed MW3. I didn't really have any problems with it. I think there's still going to be some fine tuning. Like I talked to them, I was like, perk 3 category kind of sucks. Like there's nothing I actually want to equip in there unless I'm going for streaks, scavenger maybe or something like that. But it's kind of one of those things that I don't have a ton of concerns, because it's like one of those things until it gets in the hands, what's actually going to be the concerns. I think the movement might still be too much for some people. If they're actually expecting a Modern Warfare 2019, um, they might see a little bit of a slide cancel a certain way, or a mantle, and they're like, oh, it's omni movement. It's like, bro, chill. Like it's not that.
From what I've seen about the discussion about movement, everybody's been talking that it's very reserved, but very, very fine tuned, very respected.
Yeah.
Can you talk more about the movement at all? How does it feel in comparison to other stuff? You said it kind of feels somewhat like MW3. Is it going to be a good year for the non Y wires, the bunny hoppers?
I think it'll be good for both. I think the only thing you need really to make me, I'm more old school strafe type player, stalker, like maxed out juiced, that type of thing. Raider stock or whatever the hell during Cold War to make sure I get the extra strafe juice. I'm more of a fan of strafing in COD. I think that's more of the play style that it leans towards. I think that's one of the problems with the current BO7's classic is the strafe kind of sucks, because we don't have those perks and attachments to really make it spicy on that end. So it still feels like you're a little bit sluggish or restricted on that end for BO7. But I think this one, I think they're going to fine tune it. From what I've talked to other creators that did get a chance to play even earlier, there's already been changes that have already happened to micro tune certain aspects to get it dialed into the right spot. And I think it's going to be in a sweet spot. I didn't get a chance to play. I played with the stock controller. I didn't have my, paddled controller. Your movement's a little different. How you drop shot doesn't happen if you're not, your all your muscle memory's a little bit off. But overall, yeah, it felt smooth, clean. I didn't really feel like anyone was moving insane, but obviously it's people playing their first time too. So
Like I said before, I'm excited for MW4. I really am. This was the first year where I was like, I'm going to take a backseat. So a bunch of games coming out the end of this year, start of next year that I'm very excited to just fully delve into.
yeah,
I mean, I'm in the GTA hype train. I have been for a long time. I have to admit, it feels like a dirty secret. Like, yeah, I'm enjoying the hype. Excited for the game.
yeah,
Um, but like, there's a bunch of games coming out. Fable, for example, too. I'm excited for that.
yeah, next February or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. And then COD just bitten me again, and
Oh,
I'm back in it.
yeah,
But no, I'm very excited, and I'm excited to see what happens with Warzone. The new DMZ map looks absolutely lush from what we can see. I haven't seen
yeah.
anything, but I've just heard it looks good.
Well, you know that's funny is that trailer is actually like that's real gameplay.
Yeah, really.
That's not like a cinematic.
Well, that looks good then. That
So
looks really
the
good.
graphically is like ridiculous on the game. That's where the point of the graphics are. It's more noticeable in the when the person's in first person that's like what the real gameplay is going to look like. It's kind of obnoxious that they did do a
Yeah,
full trailer with the camera. But that's like aesthetically what the game is going to look like
interesting.
that visibility.
This is the first year, for example, that they've kind of held off last gen. Correct? Is this true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The previous before that was the Ghost was the transition.
Yeah, that's crazy. 2013 is insane. I want to ask, you've been around the block in the community for a long time now. What's your biggest pet peeve in the content creation space when it comes to Call of Duty?
My biggest one is when people make videos about weapons that are objectively bad and they claim they're good.
Like
I
full
think
clickbait?
that's I think that's full trash content.
Hmm.
Like I get the stick is I'm good. Let me get a good gameplay, but there's no world where there's like certain guns that people are claiming that are overpowered or good. Like cool, call the good shit. You got to get creative with it because I know some guns are average, above average. They're not overpowered.
Hmm.
So of course, you know, maybe juice those a little bit, but there's objectively trash guns that end up coming across the board and then I'll get a comment saying, "Hey, so and so, you know, showing that it's OP." Is like, bro, I go look at the clip, they don't get shot once, and the TTK looks slow.